Canada's economy is collapsing, and we're going to get into the data. We've had more economic data that has come out to show this, and we're going to go through it right today. So today we are talking about the unemployment report, and I just want to go through this, something Woes posted on X earlier in September. You can see the type of things that we're seeing in Canada. We're seeing huge lines for just basic jobs, entry-level jobs, and it just goes to show the depression that some people are unfortunately living in. Now, we've just had the labor force survey that basically is the unemployment report. So right now you've got productivity that is collapsing here. You've got the unemployment rate that is continuing to trend down. You've also got the unemployment rate which was flat over September. Now you have to remember, this isn't an accurate report here. This is from the government, so it's going to be far from accurate, but it does give us an idea of what's going on and the trend, which is why I like to do it and cover it every month on this channel. So employment was little changed in October, plus 15,000, plus 0.1%, and the employment rate fell 0.1 percentage points to 60.6%. The unemployment rate was unchanged at 6.5%. If you go by province, employment increased in Alberta 13,000 and New Brunswick 3,300, while it declined in PEI, pretty much flat everywhere else. The number of employees in the private sector pretty much unchanged following 2 months of growth. Public sector and self-employment were both virtually unchanged in October. So at least the public sector, according to their data, is not increasing massively anymore either. So that's a good thing. The unions are also worried because the public jobs could be cut here, which isn't surprising. You know, the Conservatives are going to do this when they get into power, and the Liberals are basically just trying to virtue signal to that voter right now because they know that they're so far behind in the polls. So basically all these public sector jobs, obviously the government, huge component of the economy as well, unfortunately, and basically now they're going to start cutting jobs even in government, even though it's not going to be that many jobs at all compared to what has been gained. So the public sector service unions are warning of likely layoffs across the federal government after meeting with the Treasury Board to hear how departments are being told to cut costs. The Treasury Board updated public service unions on Thursday about how it was instructing departments to reduce spending to meet budget targets of $15 billion in savings over the next 4 years. The government has previously said it would like to reduce the public service by 5,000 jobs, which is a drop in the ocean for that, which we'll get into in a minute, through natural attrition as it transitions away from pandemic operations when programming swelled to provide relief to Canadians. I love how they added that at the end there, because it wasn't just because the government wanted to grow and use that as an excuse. It was because they were helping you. We have your back. Remember, they have your back. That's what they say constantly. So when you look across the provinces here, unemployment, BC, the unemployment rate dropped slightly. Alberta, it dropped slightly. You've got Saskatchewan up 0.3%, Manitoba up 0.2%, Ontario pretty much flat, minus 0.1%, Quebec up slightly, plus 0.2%, the rest just flat. PEI up 2.9%, but that's incredibly volatile, as we know. It's now double digits, 10%. And Newfoundland still in the double digits, but PEI is now joining them there as well. When you look across industries as well, it's also very interesting to always take note and look at this. So you got business, building, and other support services gaining. You've got accommodation and food services, educational services, manufacturing, construction. On the downside, you've got finance, insurance, real estate, rental, and leasing. Remember when I said that earlier this year when we had a lot of growth in those jobs? I said likely that's going to reverse later in the year, and that's exactly what's happening, because that was in the spring market when they're expecting this boom. You know, there's always going to be this boom, and it just wasn't there. Transportation, warehousing, public administration, wholesale and retail trade, other services, information, culture and recreation, agriculture, all to do with with food is going down right now. So that's what's happening there. And then I also want to show you this, because this is employment by class of worker industry. Public sector employees, if you look at it, 90,000 in a year. In just 1 year, you've had 90,000. Obviously, we're not in the pandemic right now. So CBC's coming out, they're going to say they're going to cut by 5,000. I mean, you've expanded by over 90,000. And that's just in 1 year. Remember, most of the expansion happened when? In 2020, 2021, and a little bit in 2022. But between 2023 and 2024, you've seen the public sector expand by pretty much half of the private sector, and none of this has kept pace with the population growth. But obviously, expanding the population, you kind of have to expand all those government services, unfortunately, which is another driver by why the government wants to obviously increase the population so massively, because again, that government just expands and expands and expands. So this was pretty much a boring labor market report, but what I want to show you, GDP growth has been pretty much stagnant, and you know, it's not really doing anything. Bear in mind how they calculate this, guys. It's very important to understand this. When they come out with this GDP growth rate, they're using the CPI to essentially deflate it. So they use a calculation and then basically they deflate the GDP numbers with the CPI. Obviously, we know that's not accurate. So even though we're getting these abysmal growth numbers, which include things like government expansion, 90,000 jobs added in the government, that's in there. All your government spending, that's in there. All the people you add to the population, that's in there. And that's exactly why you see GDP per capita that's falling. But this I want to show you, the Canadian Business Outlook survey, that doesn't really lie about what's going on. And if you look at the chart, which goes all the way back to 2003, and I want to look and see what it's been doing quarterly, and Q3 data for 2024 was just abysmal, just like most of it, negative, below zero, not good obviously. If you look at the last time it was below zero, it's been below zero for longer than it was during the pandemic. If you look at where Canada practically hit a recession in 2015, 2016, but it was mostly in Alberta obviously as well, but it dragged down the economy overall as well. And then you look at 2008, 2009, this is actually getting to the length of 2008, 2009 now, and we haven't even got to the worst part yet. So obviously, if the business outlook is this bad, what does that say about the underlying economy? What does that say about the future prospect of job growth for people? What does that say to people who are thinking about jumping into the housing market right now because they're getting FOMO again? They're hearing that the market might just be expanding a tiny bit, so it's time to get back in there before it goes to the moon. Is that really likely whilst the economy is still just being crushed, just being thrown in the grinder, and it's not just going to recover instantly? That's what people don't understand. This is going to be a long cycle. It's already proving this way on the downside. We're nowhere near the bottom right now, and I think it's important that people understand that. And when you look around and go to these job fairs and you see the massive lines and you see what's going on, you see food banks running out of food, you begin to understand that for a lot of people, they're in a depression and it's just going down the lines of incomes right now. So it will eventually hit those at the top as well. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed this stream, I would highly recommend that you check out this video here. If you're looking for a VPN and want to help support the channel, you can click this link here or the affiliate link in the description. That's the VPN I use. I will see you in the next